Do I keep building my share portfolio, or do I redirect money toward a house deposit? There is no universally correct answer. It depends on your income, your goals, and how much you value flexibility versus stability. But this is where financial planning stops being theoretical and starts requiring real decisions. Now let's talk about the $200,000 to $500,000 range, because this is where life genuinely starts to change. At this stage, your investments are no longer just a side project. They are starting to produce meaningful passive income. Dividends and distributions can start covering real expenses, insurance premiums, holidays, or extra mortgage repayments. This is the first time many investors feel a real sense of security, a feeling that even if their job disappeared tomorrow, they would not be starting from zero. But here's where most people go wrong. Instead of enjoying this progress, they start feeling anxious about protecting it. Loss aversion, a concept well documented in behavioral economics, shows that the pain of losing money feels roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining the same amount. So paradoxically, as people accumulate more wealth, many of them actually become more stressed, not less, because they now have more to lose. This is also the stage where lifestyle creep becomes a serious threat. As people see their portfolio grow, they often feel justified in spending more, upgrading their car, their home, their holidays. There is nothing wrong with enjoying your money. But every dollar redirected toward lifestyle at this stage is a dollar that is no longer compounding for your future. The investors who reach true financial independence are usually the ones who kept their lifestyle relatively stable even as their portfolio grew. Now imagine crossing into the $500,000 to $1 million range. This is where something remarkable starts to happen. At this level, depending on your investment approach and the returns you achieve, your portfolio can start generating an amount of passive income that is genuinely comparable to a part-time salary. This is the stage where the phrase financial independence starts to feel real rather than theoretical. Many Australians at this stage begin seriously considering working less, changing careers into something they actually enjoy, or negotiating more flexible working arrangements, because their financial foundation gives them options that most people simply do not have. There is another reason nobody talks about at this stage, and it is psychological, not financial. Many people expect to feel completely different once they hit seven figures. They expect a switch to flip. But most investors report that the feeling is more subtle than expected. Security increases. Anxiety about money decreases. But life still feels remarkably normal. This matters because it teaches an important lesson. Money changes your options, but it does not automatically change your happiness. The habits, relationships, and purpose you build alongside your wealth matter just as much as the number itself. Now let's talk about the $1 million to $2 million range, often considered a genuine wealth milestone in Australia. At this stage, assuming a reasonable long-term withdrawal strategy, many investors can realistically consider living off their portfolio, especially when combined with other income sources or eventual access to superannuation. This is where estate planning, tax efficiency, and long-term structuring become far more important than simply picking the next investment. The conversation shifts from how do I grow this to how do I protect this and pass it on wisely. This is also the stage where many people finally confront a strange truth. Once your basic financial security is fully established, more money brings diminishing emotional returns. Research on wealth and well-being consistently shows that beyond a certain point, additional income and net worth still help, but the impact on day-to-day happiness becomes much smaller. This is why so many financially independent people shift their focus away from accumulating more and toward using their wealth intentionally, whether that means more time with family, meaningful work, or contributing to causes they care about. And finally, let's talk about what life looks like beyond $2 million into true multi-generational wealth territory. At this level, the focus shifts almost entirely away from personal spending and toward legacy. Trusts, structured estate planning, and long-term family financial education become central concerns. The biggest risk at this stage is no longer market volatility. It is often family conflict, poor communication about money, or a lack of financial education passed down to the next generation. Studies on generational wealth transfer have shown that a significant portion of family wealth is lost within a couple of generations, not because of bad investments, but because of poor planning and poor communication. This is the ultimate lesson hiding inside this entire journey. Building wealth is a financial skill. Keeping and transferring wealth is a completely different skill, built on discipline, communication, and long-term thinking. So here is the real takeaway from everything we have just walked through. There is no single moment where you suddenly become a successful investor. It is a series of stages, each with its own emotional challenges, its own temptations, and its own lessons. The habits you build with your first few $1,000s are the same habits that will carry you all the way to 7 figures and beyond. The discipline you show during your first market crash is the same discipline that protects you when the stakes are far higher.